o'clock. Please let the minutes show that Mr. Holguin is not on. His father-in-law passed away, and I think he's busy with that. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag, the state of New Mexico is a symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
I think Mr. Hogan is joining the meeting.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Gabe.
Gabriel.
Hey, Toy. Hi, Irene.
Sorry
Hi,
to hear
everybody.
about your father-in-law.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Entertain a motion for approval of agenda items.
Gomez, so moved.
Motion by
Gilbert, I'll second.
Mr. Gomez, second by Mr. Guadiana. Any correction to the agenda? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana,
Yes.
Mr. Gomez,
Yes.
Cordova,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion passes. Entertain a motion for approval of board minutes of October the 12th.
Frank Cordova, so move.
Motion by Mr. Cordova, second.
I'll second. This is Gilbert.
Second by Mr. Guadiana. Any corrections to a minute?
I noticed that we made reference to public comments being read by Mr. Arumbula, and why aren't we posting the comments?
Some of the comments are not questions to the board. They were just comments, people were talking back and forth between each other, not directly to the board.
They made comments, but the comments were made to, some comments were made directly to the board.
Yeah, and there were comments were read by Mr. Alambula.
But it doesn't make reference to the comments other than they were read.
Well, I don't think that those comments need to be on the board minutes.
Okay.
Any other question? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana,
Yes.
Mr. Gomez,
Yes.
Mr. Cordova,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion passes. Moves us to update on unfinished business, item A.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, this is review on status of school reentry. We'll have comments from Joyce Barrela, followed by Aneta Costa on the update. At this time, Joyce, please.
Mr. President, members of the board, since Ms. Acosta is going to talk about some of the reentry things that are happening, I'll just give an updated report on the PPE. And basically our PPE inventory has not changed from the last time, except that we did get an addition of 5,600 cloth masks that were provided to us from the Public Education Department. And those are both for adults and for students, for us to be able to give 2 additional cloth masks to each staff member and each student. we have already given 2 cloth masks to each adult, and we have the cloth masks for the students for when they return. So that's all I have for this time.
Thank you, Joyce.
All right, Aneta Costa, are you on?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead,
guess
please.
And I guess I should ask, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Okay.
Darn. Good evening, members of the board, president, and superintendent. Just a quick update on what's going on with the school reentry. Where we are at now, we are having Bayard Elementary School execute their school drill this week. We'll also be having Bayard Elementary School Pre-K execute their drill next week. Hurley Elementary will begin videotaping their series 1 and 2. It's a 6-part series, but they'll be doing 1 and 2 on their procedures and uploading those to their websites and Google Classrooms, getting ready for virtual assemblies. And we've established our district rapid response team that we refer to as RRT. We're going to be addressing point person and the responsibilities breakdown and checklist with that. We've also looked at the New Mexico Public Education Department Toolkit. It was updated and put out September 2020. I mentioned that last report. And what we've done now with that is we have completed posting of signs in highly visible locations and walls, looking at protective measures. We put them on floors in the schools for social distancing. We've posted local and national crisis hotline numbers at visible locations in the schools, social media, and our district websites. Bayard Elementary has uploaded those to their teacher Google Classrooms. And we've also completed the COVID-19 incident report that's come out of that toolkit. And San Lorenzo will be sent the packet of information for assessment and planning this week to begin looking at their process for the next 2 weeks or so. Where are we going for November? Since we're almost there in 3-4 days. Where we want to be in November is we want to start scheduling and beginning those videotaping for Bayard Elementary's procedures. We want to schedule and begin videotaping Bayard's pre-K procedures. We want to make sure we upload the completed video series as they become complete so that that process of teaching can begin. We want to ensure that we execute the Central Elementary pre-K drill and that we finalize school site cleaning and disinfecting checklists, and that we establish a school site response, rapid response team and their point person. We do have all the responsibilities broken down, so we'll be going to each school and working with principals to establish school site rapid response teams. And also, lastly, I might just throw out there as a reminder, when considering to reopen, consider transmission rates in the state, county, and neighboring counties, which right now we are going off the roof like a volcano. Also, continue assessing our capacity to implement appropriate mitigation measures within our school systems to ensure that safety. And last but not least, I have to leave you with this. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing, by Theodore Roosevelt. Something just to keep in mind. Any questions? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Thank you, Annette. Appreciate it.
Sorry.
Thank you, Annette.
Can people participate or view the rollout that you have in Bayard in terms of that exercise?
They would have been able to view them. Unfortunately, the new mandate that came down from the governor is limiting the mass gatherings. So we're trying to be very cautious and ensuring that staff arrive for that at 30 minutes early to wash hands, make sure we take temperatures, and that we appropriately social distance the actors in those scenes. So now to have more people come in and observe, we're we're limiting that because of that purpose. We want to ensure that we maintain that so we don't get in trouble. But
Understood.
they'll be uploaded to the websites once they're videotaped, and you can actually see the procedures.
Cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had to report you had an incident report?
Yes, in the Public Education Department's toolkit, they have an incident report of things that they would like on the report. Once we have kids brought back and teachers, if we have a incident in the school where somebody tests positive or somebody gets sick in the school, then we would need to use that to record the required things that they're looking for. So what I did was we just pulled them out of the toolkit, we set them up in a Excel type of form, and that's ready to go.
Okay, but there wasn't one submitted.
Oh, no,
Okay.
not yet.
Knock on wood.
Yes, cross the fingers.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
Moves us to item B.
Before we move
Update
on to
on-
item B, the thing I asked for in the last board meeting, and I kind of thought it would be under the title of review of school readiness program, was regarding the technology. And I'd really kind of want to know what we have set up for teachers to be able to navigate through the hybrid system once we go to that.
Well, it's not on the agenda, but we'll make sure we put it on for the next agenda. And Irene, can you note that, please?
Well, she noted it on the minutes, and it falls under that category. But that's
Okay.
fine if we want to have it next meeting.
Yeah, we'll have Victor and Jose present on that. Irene, did you hear that? Okay.
Also,
Item
I wanted
B.
to ask, the teachers are putting in an incredible amount of hours, and I'm curious as to administration working a 4-day week as opposed to a 5-day week. Also, regarding the week off that was given to administration in July, was that done by using vacation time or not?
It should have been vacation time, but I'll check on it for you, Mr. Guardiana.
Please do. What about the 4-day work week? Is that going on still, administration, while staff are working at the schools 5-day weeks and who knows how many hours? Certainly well over 40.
The teachers and the administrators, the building principals are getting paid extra for those 10 days. Nobody else is. So that was the way that we were able to afford the 10 extra days that the state is requiring us to do.
So to answer the question, administration is still working 32 hours a week or 4 days a week?
It's 40 hours, sir. 40 hours in 4 days.
Okay.
Okay. Item B,
Mr. Mendoza, this is Gabe. I have a question for you. So just based on what we heard on our last report, as far as school readiness goes, are you optimistic that our school will be prepared to open up in January?
I am, sir, but the way the COVID is rapidly spreading up here upon the state, I just hope that we will be allowed to open. There was discussions today on the superintendent's statewide meeting that, for example, Farmington opened up and they had, I think, 5 cases hit them just in the first week, and they're having to shut down. And what the state wants the districts to do is avoid what you call a yo-yo effect, open, close, and that's what they're doing. A lot of other superintendents are already thinking, and it looks like, for example, a couple of districts already that are in hybrid with their elementary are thinking of just once Thanksgiving comes up, we're going to have all the family activities, just canceling school between Thanksgiving and through Christmas, and possibly quarantine still an additional 14 days in January to hopefully they can avoid the infection of the kids, because traditionally Thanksgiving and Christmas is when you have families really getting together, and we're afraid that that might spike. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. That's what is being discussed, and we'll see what our Secretary Stewart will say this coming Thursday. Also.
Right. And I appreciate that. You know, I'm just, I guess my question is more directed to our school and the readiness, you know, as far as, are we ramped up, ready to go with PPE and with our plan? With,
As best as I can, Mr. Hogan, as best as I can. I mean, we are ready. We're just having to, a little few odds and ends under the maintenance part, but then we'll be ready. And what I'm afraid of is at that time we're going to have a lot of kids still want to be kept on remote, and and we'll honor that for the parents, all right, and that'll be their decision. And there's going to be a lot of possible assignments and reassignments within the schools, because if a teacher, for example, only has 3 kids that show up, okay, it's impossible to keep that. We'd have to combine classes and so forth. But there's a lot of preparing still in that aspect. But we're all doing numbers right now just to see where we're at. Okay, and just a reminder, board presidents, and the board, is that we can't open up the secondary schools yet. The toolkit for the secondary people, as I speak to you, the secretary and the Ped department has not given us that. So even if we open up in January, we still have to comply with 4 to 6 weeks in between that we can bring. So we're looking at the middle of February, bringing back the high school. But it's something that you think about. We are having athletics begin in January, and Mr. Diaz is listening there. I think we start out with basketball in January right away. So it's a 2 thing there that the New Mexico Athletics Association is starting with sports, but yet us starting secondary schools looks like sometime in February. But I'll keep you posted, and thanks for asking, Mr. Hoagie. We'll bring in.
I do appreciate that, and thank you.
The other thing that I have been hearing and seeing is there's been folks that have been tested positive, and the only thing that they have had is loss of smell and loss of taste. No fever, no nothing. And right now with the kids coming in, that's the only thing we're checking is fever. And how is a little 3rd grader going to tell you that I don't have taste and I don't have smell? Or how long is it going to take a other person, an adult, to figure out that I don't have a taste, I don't have a smell, and they're tested positive? That's one of the things that I don't know how we're going to deal with. And I hope that people aren't just jumping up and down because we're going to open up in January. It all depends on how things are going. Like Annette said, we really need to be safe.
And
the next thing is item B.
This is update on athletic conditioning pods. Nelson, can you fill the board in and let us know how it's going so far?
So far, we've had about I would say about 50% of our pods starting. Right in the middle of getting started and planning our pods, we had to change to the 4-to-1. So that automatically doubled the size of our pods, or how many pods we were going to have. So we planned it a little differently. Right now they're going, for the ones that are coming in, I've been there just about every single day, checking on the pods. They're following all social distancing guidelines. They're wearing their masks. Kids are super excited to be out there. It's good to see them out there. So I just want to thank you guys for allowing this to happen for our kids. We are doing it the safest way possible at the moment. So I just want to say thank you. And the feedback that I'm getting from the kids is that they are really excited to be back, even if it's just for conditioning at the moment. So pods are going good.
Mr. Diaz, this is Gabe. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So in regards to academics, if the NMA hadn't waived that deal about the kids that were failing, not being allowed to participate, if they hadn't have done that, how would that have affected our pods? I mean, I guess the root of my question is, can anybody answer what's our failure rate, and how is this online schooling going so far? I mean, how are we doing academically?
As far as academics would be concerned, it would have almost been, we would have been limited to at least a fourth of that. I think a lot of our students were struggling. A lot of our students are still struggling, but what I can say is that our coaches are doing what they can to create classrooms, to make sure that the kids are doing what they have to in class. They're making sure that the attendance is happening. If they're not in school, then they are not participating in pods. So we're taking steps to ensure that we are, as the coaching staff, trying to support our kids academically as much as possible. We understand that we are student athletes, so the student part is first. But having them there physically with us has given us the opportunity to be able to hold our kids a little more accountable. So I think we're moving in the right direction as far as that. I did, check in with a few pods here and there and ask them, how many of you guys are failing your classes? And the hands that were raised were not as many as there were before. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Gabe, to add to that, I know our grades are coming up. We just ran honor roll. We're going to be giving certificates out on Wednesday as a drive-through honor roll. And we had 150 kids that were on honor roll. So the kids are getting there. They're working hard to get back into it. So
that's good news. What would you say, Sandra or Ms. Montoya, that the biggest challenge has been, a biggest hurdle for the kids as far as the online learning goes? What kind of trends are you guys seeing? What's the biggest barrier to them succeeding?
I think it's the motivation and the internet issues that some of the kids are having. I know we just got more hotspots, so we're delivering those out this week. Some of the issues with the Chromebooks have been fixed, so they're not having the issues anymore. So I think it's turning around.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, Sandra, I'd like to say that's probably the most significant news I've heard in terms of addressing the needs. And I appreciate that. We've gone a number of meetings and that hasn't been addressed except for you bringing that up. And I'm greatly appreciative of that. And I'm very thankful you're there.
And I know you guys had questions last week or the last board meeting about Canvas. We do have a few teachers moving into the Canvas area and getting the kids familiar with it. So hopefully we can go full-blown Canvas here in a couple of weeks.
That'll be great. That way they can tie into Western and many of them, are they doing the dual enrollment? Students?
All the sophomores are in a dual enrollment class, and then we have a few juniors and seniors.
Wow. That's excellent. Thank you. Mr.
You're
Diaz.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you, how many kids, or did you have any kids that were turned away because the ratio was changed to 4-1?
No, in fact, I think we're having the opposite effect. We're gaining more. So we're being more creative here. So we do have 38 pods at the moment. That means that our coaches are doubling up on a pod, not at the same time, obviously, but within guidelines, within the rules. they are having a 4 o'clock pod, and then they go to a 5:30 pod. So our coaches are really making an effort to reach out to the kids and really making sure that we are meeting all the needs of the kids. But as we keep moving forward, we're adding more kids. Every week we've added a few more kids that are wanting to participate. And on the same token, some that we thought would want to participate are not. So it's a little give and take. So we're kind of balancing out a little bit. I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks we'll be at 100%, and then I can possibly at the next board meeting give you accurate number of how many are participating altogether. But right now we have about 154 kids scheduled.
Cool. And the same goes to you. Thank you for getting them engaged, and hopefully that'll motivate them to keep succeeding as well. But I'm concerned about the weather now. Are you going to be moving indoors at any point, and are we ready for that?
So we could be ready for that. I know we're waiting on the vents. I think that's one of the things we are waiting for. As soon as those vents come in, I think we'll have a better idea whether or not we can move forward to go indoors. And that is a concern. With the change of the weather, that is a concern. So we are actually looking into some plans, and we would like to present those plans, obviously, to the board before we make a decision like that, whether or not we'd be going in. So yes, so we are definitely taking that into consideration. October's been rather warm, except for today and possibly tomorrow. So we've been blessed in that sense that it's been pretty warm. But we do understand that there's a need to possibly look at going indoors, and that would present its own challenges based on the pods and how many pods we have and how many kids we're trying to accommodate for.
And the cleaning equipment and everything
Of
else
course.
that's associated with that.
Of course.
Appreciate your efforts, Mr. Diaz.
Thank you.
Mr. Diaz, this is Gabe. Another question for you is, how is the coach testing going? Are we on schedule? Are coaches getting tested regularly?
Coaches are getting tested regularly. We do have to send out a few reminders here and there, but they are getting tested regularly. So yeah, they send me an email or a text message with the results. So I do have records of our coaches that are testing for sure.
Okay, good news. Thank you.
How often are they getting tested, Mr. Diaz?
We're trying to get them every 2 weeks within the schedule.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Cordova, any questions?
No questions from me at this time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gomez?
No, I have no questions. Thank you for all that you've been doing. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Like I said, thank you so much. The kids are really appreciated, and coaches really appreciate it, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Good work.
Okay, this moves us to public input. This time we'll entertain anything from the public in reference to our agenda. Do we have anything, Victor? Victor?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Do we have anything from the public in reference to our agenda?
We have Ana Treviso. How is the district handling the issues of the kids who are still behind in work or don't have the means to get what they need? Is there a plan for January with better way of school if we continue with school?
Mr. Mendoza?
Yeah, if she could call us here at central office, I can get Joyce and Mr. Berrio to present and talk to them and reference them to everything that's been planned and put together. And then They can also talk to Annette. And Victor, you might want to put those numbers up there on the board, on our website so that they know where to call.
Okay, well,
I'll take care of that.
all right. And then I had Stephanie Padilla just mention Albert Array and Stephanie Padilla, parents of Adrian and Alex, are listening on YouTube. And then another response from them was, can anyone acknowledge we are the parents of Alex and Adrian, and we were told to watch through YouTube, received a letter late, missed appointment at 10:15 this morning.
Could you say again what that was?
I guess someone advised them to get onto the YouTube, I guess because they missed a meeting, but I'm not exactly sure how you want me to respond.
Victor, do you know exactly what school they're from? Because I would recommend that they call their elementary school to get information on that, okay? And they're telling
Okay,
me,
we'll just-
Joyce is saying it's Bayard Elementary, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, Snell Junior High. So if they contact, then if they don't get an answer there, they can contact central office also.
Okay. Anything
Okay,
else?
That is all at the moment, sir.
Thank you, Victor.
Okay. Moves us to administration.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, this year coming up is the year that we have to set up for a Senate Bill 9 election. And we have one of two options. One is that we go in February 21, and that will have to be a mail-out ballot, or take it to the regular election, which will be in November of the 21. And at that time, we'll also have 3 board members that'll be up for election on that. But we have with us Regina, who is a consultant with us and has been for many years. And Regina, are you ready? Are you there? Can you start?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, superintendent. Thank you for allowing me to present tonight. Again, as Mr. Mendoza mentioned, this year will be the expiration of your Senate Bill 9, and the district has to make a decision of when to go out for the election, whether it's a February or a November election, to avoid the lapse in funding. I have sent some materials for you for your packets. I believe you should have received the presentation. I wanted to go over just the overall district's plan of finance and the situation with your tax rates and the assessed value. Let me know if you have that in front of you, so or if Irene would be able to share the screen.
Regina, I did not receive anything for their board packets.
So let me see. Superintendent Mendoza, did you get the presentation from me? We just sent it.
I received it this morning.
Regina, I got your presentation and I have the email you sent this morning on the gas and oil data. So if you want me to present, use my screen, we can use my screen if you want to.
Yes, that would be great, Terry. I would appreciate it. Unfortunately, in the world of heavy compliance, we're not allowed to share screens through Google Meets.
Right. So do you want the one that you sent on October 23rd shared?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, let me open that up for you.
Can everybody see that one?
I can see it, Terry.
Everybody else see it?
Yes, I can.
I can see it, Terry.
Okay, Regina, just let me know when to scroll forward. I can scroll forward for you.
So if you go to slide 1, you will see the history of your assessed valuation. You can see going forward from tax year 2017, we've seen nothing but decline, coming mostly from your non-residential and obviously copper assessed values. So that brought down not only your 5-year average annual growth to being negative at this point, but also your 10-year average annual growth to barely 1%. We have received preliminary assessed values from the county, and as you can see, this year has been pretty flat. Obviously, the full impact of a COVID-19 is yet to be assessed when you will receive your collections for tax year 2020 in December and January of this year, and also May and June of 2021. That's when the majority of your collections come in for the years. Obviously, the 227 million still represents what has been assessed by the state and the county earlier this year, and doesn't incorporate any of the businesses that might be going off the rolls, and also does not include any impact on the residential as well. And going to slide 2 is the history of your tax rates. So the district does have in place the operational rate. Your 2 mil levy has been in place since 2015. That's when was the last time you renewed it. And your debt service rate. So given the fact that the last 2 years have seen a very sharp decline in your assessed value, the tax rate went up going to tax year 2020 from $6.50 to roughly $7.08, about 60 cents per 1,000 of assessed valuation. And on page 3 is your plan of finance. As mentioned earlier, your 2 mil levy is up for renewal after 2015. It technically is expiring in February of this year, since 2 mil levy is only good for 6 years. The new election law allows you to go out in November of 2021 on the general ballots this year. Obviously, that wouldn't cost anything to the district. And at that point, the state treasurer the county treasurer would prepare 2 bills. And if you were to pass the November 2021 election, your taxpayers would see the SB 9 on their tax bills. If the November 2021 election fails, you will not receive funding for the next year, and you would have to go back out to voters to reauthorize. You have an option, as mentioned before, to go out this February of 2021 or March of 2021. And do a special mail-in only election. That would be out-of-pocket cost to the district. In the event February election were to fail, you still are able to go back out to voters in November of 2021. Your last bond election was in 2017. Originally, we scheduled your next bond election for November of 2021, but the actual timing and the size of the election are obviously to be determined based on the growth in your assessed value and facility master plan needs. The district does have an option to have both questions on either February ballot or November ballot if you choose to do so. And on page 4 is just a draft of the election timing of what it would look like if you were to place GO bond in November of 2021 and then SB 9 either in February or November of 2021. You would be going back out to voters to reauthorize your SB 9 in November of 2025, and at that point you will be fully on those 6-year cycles. and would just be consistently on November's schedule. And that's the goal, is to get the district to be for all of your elections, whether it's a GO elections or your SB9 elections, on those November ballots. So you don't have to pay out of pocket unless you choose to do so and hold a special mail-in ballot elections. And on page 5 is just the summary of your currently outstanding debt. You see that the district will see a large drop-off in debt service going into 2023. So that means that your tax rate would drop at that point as well. In order to maintain the tax rate, you would either have to go back out to voters, authorize some debt, or prepay some debt early. In the back of the presentation, there's some information on the current state of the municipal markets and markets overall. But with that, I wanted to open up for any questions you might have on the upcoming elections, your assessed valuation, your tax rate, your outstanding debt.
This is Toy. And I just have a question. You said that it comes up in February. We put it out for election in February, and that is one that we would have to pay for, or is that a mail-in ballot?
That is correct. If you were to go out in February, it's an option. It would have to be a mail-in ballot only. It would have to be a special mail-in ballot only election, and the district would bear the cost out of pocket for that February election. And the estimate on that election you could get from your county clerk.
So Regina, I called the county clerk and we have about 5,000 registered voters. She said it would probably be like $4 to $5, but they go to an automated service. And right now, because of elections, they won't give us an actual estimate until the elections are over. So they're stretched with the elections, but they said we could count on about $25,000 would be what the mail-in election would cost us in February of 2021, because it would be about $4.50 to $5 because it's the mail out, the mail back, and also the poll workers.
That sounds about correct, Terry. Yeah, it's about $4 per ballot on average.
And it was what you and I had discussed before, and the county clerk did kind of verify that was pretty close to what it would be. And she did say we have approximately 5,000 registered voters in our district.
And also, if we go to November, our bond expires this coming February, or it expires in November?
So the GO bonds don't particularly expire. You don't have to go out in November for GO bonds. You can go out in November of 2023, or hold a special election in 2022. The bond really depends on your actual needs for funding. So let's say the district has a project that needs to be funded at the beginning of 2022, then you would need to go out for a GO election sometime in November of 2021.
I think that the question is that our SB9 will be expiring, so we would lapse.
Yeah, that's the one I mean, not the GO bond.
My apologies. Yes, so the SB9 does expire this year. That's correct.
So basically, if we fail if we don't try in February and we go to November and fail, then we lose out on the revenue for a year. If we go out in February and fail, we still have the attempt in November at no cost to the district that we could try at that point, is basically what I understand.
But we would have to pay.
We would have to.
But we would have to pay for it in February, right?
Yes, but not in November.
So this is Gilbert. If we were to go out, if we weren't to go out in February and it expire, how much money would we be losing between then and November?
So you wouldn't be losing money between February and November. You would still continue the collections through about December of 2021, but typically the tax year starts. So tax year 2021 would start December of 2021 through December of 2022. So you would lose that full year of collections.
So if we lose in November, we would lose that full year. But
yeah,
if we don't go out in February, we'll still continue receiving payments throughout the end of the year?
Yes, so February is just an option to go out early for that election, when you normally would.
And the reason I ask is because I talked to the treasurer and he was mentioning that we would be losing those funds if we don't go out for them before June.
You would have to approve and file the documents before June. The board, if you were to go on November ballots, you would need basically to approve the election resolution and file it with PED and Department of Finance Administration, letting them know that you are going out for November of 2021 election. That's what I think the county treasurer meant. Because in that case, they would have to, as I mentioned, prepare two bills for your taxpayers, one which would have the tax rate and the one that didn't.
Okay.
And until when do we have to, if we were going to go out in February, when's the deadline to submit that we're going to go out in February?
So you would need to approve the election resolution at your November meeting. The earliest you can go out in February would be February 11th, I believe, given the fact that right now the November 3rd election coming up, you have some deadlines and it's a 100-day wait until you can hold any other elections. So the earliest is February 11th. We typically recommend for districts who are going out this year is to go out on February 16th, since it's a Tuesday and your voters were used to, those Tuesday school elections. So that would be the first Tuesday you would be able to go out to voters, but you do have the option to do it as soon as February 11th, basically. You could go out any other day thereafter. So that's since it's a special mail-in ballot election.
So if we wait until November and go out in November and say it's successful, we will have not lost any funding or missed out on any gained funding, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But if we wait till November and then go out and we lose the thing, then we lose out on a whole year of funding, and we can't go out for another one until November of 22.
You would be able to hold a special mail-in ballot election in February or March of that 22. You wouldn't be able to be on the general ballot until November of 2023, because school districts are only allowed to be on the general ballots in odd numbered years. But you have always the option of holding a special mail-in ballot election.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Regina.
Any other questions? Thank you, Regina. And
Thank you,
get back to
Regina.
you.
Feel free to reach
Get
out.
back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this moves us down to Anything else on administration, Mr. Mendoza?
You're on mute, Mr. Mendoza. You're on mute, Mr. Mendoza.
All right, Mr. Sepulveda, members of the board, what I was going to talk about, I can talk on items for the next agenda. I'll bring that up. We can go on.
Okay, moves us to finance. Gary?
Yes, this is a initial budget adjustment request. You have two bullets that Terry needs to have addressed. And Terry, you're on, please.
So, Mr. President, members of the board, superintendent, the two award letters that were in your packet, one was labeled Next Gen CTE with a fund code of 27502. And then the other one was under the Carl Perkins Act, also for vocational education, which is CTE under 24174. Now, this is under one initial application that the high school submitted, but the funding is coming from two different sources. So the 27502 for 41,904, that's coming from the state monies for vocational education. And then the 24174, which is a Carl Perkins, is $25,000. Now, all of it is for welding equipment, construction equipment, training for staff members. And Mrs. Montoya, if you have any questions, Mrs. Montoya and Mrs. Peru are online if you have specific questions on the actual application. I did email you the bars, so it does show exactly how the split was, but it was primarily split out in equipment and purchase services, which are directly off the application.
If I can jump in real quick on the Next Gen, it does include the construction and the welding, but it also includes a choice of ours, which we are trying to develop a broadcasting program for the school as well. And so that is also to purchase some equipment for that as well.
Mendoza?
Yeah, the administration recommends that you approve the initial budget adjustments as requested by Terry.
And we're gonna do these both at the same time?
I would recommend, since they're bullets underneath the A initial
Okay.
item. Yes, sir.
I heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
Frank Cordova, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Cordova, second.
This is Gabe. I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Holguin. Any other questions? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin.
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana.
I can't mute. I can't take the mute off. Oop, now I
I can
did.
hear you though.
I vote
can
yes.
hear you.
I vote yes.
Gomez.
Yes.
Mr. Cordova.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion passes. Moves us to superintendent report.
I had a question
I
for,
just have one.
but I had a
One
question for
item,
Maureen on that before we go off.
Go ahead.
Yes,
And
sir.
that was, does that include anything going towards the green technology?
No, not at this time. What it's basically covering is the entire Carl Perkins is going for the welding program. And then Next Gen, a portion of it is going towards welding. A portion of it is going towards the construction program that we currently have in place already. And then a portion of it was an LEA choice, which we chose to start to develop a broadcasting program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you and good work.
Thank you.
Mr. Mendoza.
Yeah, superintendent's report, I only have one item, and that's a reminder that in November, because of the Thanksgiving break, we have one board meeting, and that's November 9th. It'll be via YouTube live stream. And then I guess we'll go ahead to the student rep report. And Ms. Ortiz, are you on? Ms. Ortiz? Does anyone see her?
No, I don't.
I think she may be at a pod.
At a pod, okay.
Okay.
No, I don't see her. If anybody, Maureen, do you see her?
No, sir, I do not. I'm assuming she's probably at one of the pods.
Okay, so we can go on to public input, Mr. President, which is Victor, are you on?
Yes, sir, I'm on, and there's nothing new on there. Everything's the same, just the first 3 comments.
Okay, thank you, Victor.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Moves us to item for next agenda. And I'm just going to say that for
Mr.
next
President.
agenda, like we heard on our mill levy election, we might be thinking about it. And she said that it would have to be in our next meeting in November to decide if we're going to put it on a special election in February, or are we going to wait till November? So between now and then, we need to think about it and make it an action item to bring to us to either decide that we're going to go to November or put it out in February. So that'll be an item for the next agenda. Anything else, Mr. Mendoza?
Mr. President, I have a quick question.
Yes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, on public input. And this would be more a question, I guess, for Dr. Carrillo or for Ms. Varela. My understanding is that there's 2 different math curriculums that are being taught in the elementary school, and there's been issues and not sure which math curriculum our teachers are actually teaching. Someone be able to give us an update on what's going on with the math curriculum for our elementary schools?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board. The math committee recommended that iReady be adopted. iReady will be the adoption. And the only thing with that is that because the allotment is not sufficient for a whole district adoption this year, we went ahead and purchased the adoption for the secondary, and we are looking at supplemental funding so that we can purchase the iReady adoption. So there's only one curriculum, one adoption, and that will be iReady, and that would be coming forth.
I appreciate that question, Frank, because I was asked that as well. And your response to me was that, well, I don't understand why it wasn't budgeted so that we would have both at the same time and the teachers wouldn't have to be scrambling to get the information they need to be able to teach that.
So right now we have Envisions, and the adoption is not required. It's an option that the district can make every 6 years. The funding that's allotted from the Instructional Materials Bureau is not enough to cover an adoption, especially when it's math or literacy for the entire district. And the funding that was allotted is not sufficient for K through 12. So what we usually do, and in the last adoption, we adopted math first at the elementary, and then the following year, we adopted secondary. This year, we adopted secondary, and subsequently, we'll adopt elementary. But we're always looking for supplemental funding so that we can be able to include even the elementary this year, and that's what we're looking at right now.
So we decided to move to a different platform and didn't have the funding to roll that out.
I don't understand your question.
We decided, you said we had something different before, and we chose to go to this one. And so in doing that, we decided to leave one platform and go to the other, but we didn't have sufficient funding for the new program.
No, sir. The adoption that we currently have is Envisions. And teachers have decided for the next adoption, which is cyclical every 6 years, that we will adopt iReady. It has nothing to do with platforms. It's the curriculum that we're choosing or teachers are choosing to implement.
And so the existing one was one that we had last year and we didn't have funding for it this year?
No, sir. We adopt for 6 years and we purchase an adoption for 6 years. We
So are
came
we in
to
that
the new
6 years?
cycle. We've had Envisions for the last 6 years, yes, sir.
And so this is the 7th year or why isn't it funded in the 6th year?
PD funds based on the SEG and the enrollment, and we use the funds that are allotted to purchase the adoptions. So we never get the total funds that an adoption would cost. So that's why we sometimes split it between primary, intermediate, elementary, or even secondary, depending on which adoption it is. That the teachers do have the curriculum, they have Envisions, and we're going to transition into iReady as soon as we can fund that one. It's not a requirement to adopt every cycle, and but we like to keep our teachers and staff updated on what's coming new. So we will make that adoption. The only thing that's holding us right now is the funding, and we will be able to make it. We're looking at supplemental funding, and it will come this year.
So to answer the teachers' questions, when will they get the materials they need to teach with?
They have materials to teach, sir. We have not let go of the Envisions curriculum. That curriculum is in place. And sometimes curriculums are used for 7, 8, 9 years, depending on how teachers like the curriculum. But the reason why adoptions are cyclical, because they're so expensive, but also to keep with the updated materials. So to say that we don't have a curriculum, we do. We have the materials for our math, which is Envisions.
And iStation, we're not rolling that out?
iStation is an assessment.
I'm sorry, Envision, and what is the new one that we're rolling out toward?
iReady.
iReady, okay, so we're not using iReady at all this year?
Not yet.
The last question is, doesn't the board have the responsibility of reviewing and approving a curriculum when it's being changed?
No, the board can suggest, and just like anybody, the board can contribute to the adoption, but more so we have the teachers come to a committee and be represented from every school. But of course, the board is always welcome to make recommendations.
I was just going through the new policies as we're reviewing, and that was one of them that was listed as one of our responsibilities.
Make policy.
The policy for reviewing curriculum is there, for approving curriculum.
Does it
In
say
board
approving?
responsibilities.
Yes, responsibility, but doesn't say nothing about approving.
Yeah, it does.
Other questions, Frank? Mr. Gomez?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for next agenda?
A review of the grades in assessment, numerical assessment of how many students are failing, and targeting what we're doing to targeting improvement in those cases. Also, again, the technology that we mentioned earlier, what the technology will look like for the teachers in the rolling out of a hybrid program.
I'd also like to see an update on athletics on how we're going to move pods indoors.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Mendoza?
No, sir, not at this point. Thank you.
Any other thing? Motion to adjourn.
So move.
We adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.